So, just like the name suggests here, you're going to have some kind of real world situations, and we're going to use relations, patterns, to figure out equations and how much things cost and stuff like that. So let's take a look at number one. It says the cost of renting a game console includes a $40 deposit plus $12 for each day. Right? Often if you go to rent something, there's like some kind of damage deposit or service fee or something like that. So regardless whether you take this game console out for 1 day or 50 days, you always pay 40 bucks. Okay, that's a given. If you take it out for 1 day, you pay $40 plus $12 for every day. If you take it out for 50 days, you pay $40 plus $12 per day. You don't pay $40 every day. That's just a one-time fee, right? So what we want to do is we want to write an expression that represents the cost to rent the game console for D days, for any number of days, basically. Well, that can be hard at first, so let's do it this way. Let's figure out how much it costs to rent it for 1 day, and let's figure out how much it costs to rent it for 2 days, and how much it costs to rent it for 3 days, and then we'll probably be ready to figure out how much it costs to rent it for D days. Okay, so what's the cost for 1 day? I'll put C for cost. Well, you got to pay the $40, don't you? No matter how many days you do it, you pay $40 plus you have to pay $12 extra, right? Because you rented it for 1 day, so you pay the extra 12. That's it. All right, how about for 2 days? 2, you still have to pay the $40. It's not 2 times 40, it's just 40. Plus, now you could put 24 here, but you know what's going to make this easier for you? If you think of this as, well, since I'm taking it for 2 days, I have to pay $12 2 times. I have to pay 2 times 12. I'm actually going to just leave it like that. I know we could figure this out now, but I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, for 3 days, what's the cost? Well, you still pay the $40, but this time, instead of paying 2 $12 payments, you have to make 3 $12 payments. All right, all this, by the way, what could you put here? We had 2 times 12 here, 3 times 12 here. You could have put 1 times 12 up here, couldn't you? Because you're just making one $12 payment here. Okay, so now we go to D dollars. Well, I mean, take a look. Look at how many things are the same here. In all of these questions here, we have C, 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 and it's going to be exactly the same here. We're going to have C. In all of these equations here, we have 40, 40, 40, and again, we're going to have 40. In all of these equations here, we have 12, 12, 12, so we're going to have the 12, but what's going to be different here? It goes 1, 2, 3, this is not 4, this should be plus, how many days is it? D number of days. So this is your equation, C equals 40 plus D times 12. What's a better way to write that? How about C equals 40 plus, what's a better way of writing D times 12? 12 times D, or 12D. This is the equation. Now you can use this equation to figure it out for any number of days. If I wanted you to figure out how much does it cost for 50 days, what would you do? 50 days, D, you would plug it right in here. And that's exactly what we're going to do in the next question, except it's not going to be 50, it's going to be 10. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 10 days. We want to know how much does it cost to rent it for 10 days. We're going to put the 10 right in there. So we get C equals 40 plus 12, and where it says D, I'm putting 10. Okay, so then the cost is equal to 40 plus 12 times 10. Well, 12 times 10 is 120, and 40 plus 120 is 160. It would cost $160 to rent it for 10 days. Whoa, pretty expensive. By the way, in your book, they also ask a question, what's the cost per day? If you rent it for 10 days, what's the cost per day? And I know at first you might be, well, wait a minute, we already know that. The cost per day is 12 bucks a day. But what they mean is, if you also factor in that 40 buck deposit, then how much did it really cost you on average per day? So for example, you paid 160 bucks to rent it for 10 days. So on average, how much did you pay per day? Well, it was 160 bucks, and we rented it for 10 days, so we'll divide by 10, and you get the cost per day is actually 16 bucks a day. So I know it says here the cost is 12 bucks per day, but but if we factor in the $40 deposit, it averages out to 16 bucks per day. I should have put that down as one of the questions here. Anyway, there you go. There's one question in your book on your homework that's like that, where it asks for cost per day. All right, and then the last question here on this particular problem we're working on. How many days could you rent the console if you paid $340? Now be careful. This $340, where are you plugging that in? You are not plugging it in there. It's not 340 days. It's a cost of 340. You're actually putting the 340 in here where the C is. All right, so let's do that. We put 340 in where the C is. We're left with 40 plus 12D. We don't know what D is. We don't know how many days it is. That's literally the question, how many days? So we're left with this algebraic equation. Guess what you're going to do to solve it? You're going to do algebra, of course. We want to get this D all by itself. So there's two numbers that are problems here, the 40 and the 12. We want to look for one that we add or subtract first. Which one would that be? That would be the 40. We want to subtract 40 from both sides. So that will leave us with 300 equals, that's gone, so just 12D. That's 12 times D. So what are we going to do? We're going to divide by 12. 12 divided by 12, that cancels out, so you're just left with D. And now you have to go 300 divided by 12, and that equals 25. If you don't believe me, pick up your calculator and you can try it. It equals 25. So you could rent the console for 25 days if you're willing to pay $340. Why don't you just buy the console rather than spending that much money for 25 days? Okay, those are the sort of questions you're going to do today. Hey, let's do another one. You know this probably. If you count the number of seconds, t, between seeing a flash of lightning and hearing the resulting sound of thunder, you can calculate how far the storm is from your present location by using this formula right here. D equals 8 over 25t, where d is the distance in kilometers. So the question here is, how far away is the storm if you count 15 seconds? So we have this number here, this 15. This is nice, this question. They've actually given you the equation. In the first one, you had to figure out the equation. In this one, they've given you the equation. So the first thing you need to do is figure out, am I going to plug that 15 into the d or the t? Well, this is 15 seconds. D stands for distance, and t is seconds or time. Well, I think since it's seconds, we better plug it into the t. So we'll do that. We have d equals 8 over 25, and then where it says t, I'm actually going to write 15. Okay, so I'm actually just multiplying a fraction times a whole number. Remember how to do that? I think the best way to do it is to make this one a fraction too. What could you always put on the bottom to make it a fraction? 1. Now if you want, you can multiply the top and multiply across the bottom, but what could you do first? Good old ninja slicing. Look at that 25 and that 15. Beautiful. You can divide them both by 5. How many 5s go into 15? 3. How many 5s go into 25? 5. Now you have no choice but to multiply. So we multiply across the top. 8 times 3 is 24. We multiply across the bottom. 5 times 1 is 5. And there's an answer. I mean, it's fine. You could put that as your answer, 24 over 5 kilometers. Or if that's hard to picture, take your calculator, go 24 divided by 5, and you'll get 4.8 kilometers. That's how far away, approximately, the lightning is from you. Maybe I'll rewrite the formula down here. D equals 8 over 25t. And the number we're given this time is 10. 10 right here. 10 kilometers. Is that going to the d or is that going to the t? Well, d is distance and t is time. We're talking about kilometers. That's a distance. You better put 10 right here where the d is. So we have 10 equals 8 over 25t. Uh-oh, the dreaded fraction. Solving algebraic equations with fractions. Remember the way you could do this? Let's get rid of the fraction, right? That's what makes this difficult, is we have a denominator. So remember our method? We multiply every term, well, we only have 2 terms here, by the lowest common denominator. Well, I only see one denominator, it's 25. So let's multiply this term by 25 and this term by 25. Now, when we do that over here, you have 25 times 10. 25 times 10 is 250. Equals. Remember, if you do this step right, you should have no fraction anymore. Will that happen? Absolutely, because this 25 and this 25 cancel out. So all you're left with on this side is 8t. Okay, you only have one last step. You want the t by itself, and you have 8 times t, so you better divide by 8. Divide by 8, divide by 8. You get t, doesn't matter the order you write it in, but I'll do it this way. T, because the 8's cancel out, is equal to 250 over 8, but we could put that in lowest terms. Divide them both by 2, and you get 125 over 4. There's nothing else you could do there in terms of fractions, so that's a very good answer. Or if you want to picture it a little bit better, take your calculator and divide. You will get 31.25. So what's the question asking? How many seconds will there be? It'll be 31.25 seconds. Whoa, that's a long time between the lightning and the thunder. Okay, last question. There's a question like this on your workbook assignment as well. They just give you a little equation here, and then they tell you one of the letters, and you have to figure the other one out. All right, so for this equation right here, if they tell you that n is equal to 5, and then they ask you to find m, well, you're just going to plug that 5 into the n right there. So you'll have 4m, we don't know m yet, that's what the question is, minus 3 equals 5 times, and we're putting 5 right in the n, so we have another 5 there, 5 times 5. Then we're just doing algebra here. The first thing you should do is simplify the right-hand side, because 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, trying to get the m by itself, so we want to add or subtract first. Let's add 3 to both sides. You know what, everyone? If you understand how to do this algebra, you're in very good shape for next year. Okay, not to freak anyone out, but really, really important you know how to do this algebra. 25 plus 3, 28. Last step, this is 4 times m. You need to do the opposite step or operation. You need to divide by 4. So those cancel. M equals 7. There's your answer. Okay, in this one, we want to find m. Sorry, we're given m. We want to find n. So we're going to take the 27 this time and put it into the m right here. So we have 4 times the 27. We just put 27 right into that m. Minus 3 equals 5n. We don't know the n. That's exactly what we're trying to do, is to find the n. Okay, algebra, let's start by multiplying this side. 4 times 27, it's 108 minus 3 equals 5n. Oh, look at this. We can combine like terms here on the same side. 108 minus 3 is 105 equals 5n. Last step, 5 times n. So we want to do the opposite and divide by 5. And 105 divided by 5 is 21. So 21 equals n, or n equals 21, whichever way you want to write it. And that's it for real life applications. So good luck with the homework. Let me know if you have any troubles. And I'll see you next time. We're going to talk about the Cartesian plane. Gotta love it. Bye.